As an icebreaker exercise during my orientation at Wesley Theological Seminary in DC, the Dean of Students asked us to introduce ourselves with our name, where we call home, and he had a wild card question, which I love for icebreakers. What is one thing you will never do? The third prompt was a pleasant departure from the exhaustive listing of credentials and previous education and aspirations on graduation, but it did take an energy shift to think of one thing you will never do. So my classmates began to stand and introduce themselves, and some were challenged by the question and took it in a philosophical direction. I will never stand down from my convictions, which is admirable in seminary. Others were more concrete. I will never hold a snake. I get that. And when it came time for me, I felt a little confessional. Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm from Kansas City, and I will never throw away a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon. And the class broke out in laughter and groans. There were groans, too. Some people nodded in agreement, knowing the inside information, and others shook their head. You and my wife, said the Dean of Students. If you aren't familiar, Bed Bath & Beyond is a wonderful store with many useful things, and they have coupons that they send out in the mail frequently. And these coupons, which are typically 20% off, never expire. They have expiration dates on them, but those are a decoy. I've never, ever witnessed a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon being rejected in the store. Some of these coupons are $5 off, and they come in the mail more than once a month, although I don't know how frequently. They just keep piling up. But they don't expire, so I keep them in a file on the wall in my kitchen. Of course, you don't always need to go to Bed Bath & Beyond, but when you do go, you want to make sure you have enough coupons. Did you know that you can use one coupon for every item in your checkout? So you really should never pay full price for anything at Bed Bath & Beyond. Okay, this isn't a sermon about Bed Bath & Beyond. On top of them coming frequently, somehow, and I don't know how this happened, I got signed up for doubles. So I get 2 coupons frequently. It just keeps piling up, and I keep putting them in this file on the wall. It's this joke in my family. So I get a call the other day from my parents. I pick up the phone, Nan says, "Well, we've done our good deed for the day." "Oh, what have you girls been up to?" And Mom chimes in, because I'm on Bluetooth in the car. "Oh, I gave out Bed Bath & Beyond coupons in line at the store." She keeps going. "Well, you know I brought too many, and I just noticed that other people in line didn't have one, so I started asking them if they needed them, and I told them they should never pay full price for anything at Bed Bath & Beyond." And here I am hoarding my double coupons on the file in the wall in my kitchen, while my saint of a mother is handing them out to those in need. I mean, as funny as it was really kind of humbling. It made me laugh, and it made me wonder, what an easy thing to share. It cost me nothing. It's an act of kindness, not even charity really, just kindness. And it came from noticing the excess, which I've already noticed. I have an excess of coupons on my wall in the kitchen. Noticing the scarcity, which my mom did because her head wasn't buried in her phone like mine probably would have been. And then using an act of kindness to make that excess useful to someone. The more I thought about this process of noticing abundance and noticing scarcity and then using kindness and compassion to balance their relationship, the process really became about the recognition of the concept of enough. We are at constant odds with that word, enough. What is enough? We have an awfully specific expectation for such an arbitrary concept. Who says how much is enough? Who decides if I am enough? We may not ask these questions out loud, but I know I wonder them. What is enough? Oryoki in Japanese means a vessel containing just enough. The term oryoki refers to the nested bowls, as well as the ritual meal process in Zen Buddhist monasteries. It's practiced because it's believed that it synchronizes the body and the mind through bringing mindfulness to eating. So each person at the table opens their set of bowls and utensils from this folded cloth. And the food is sent down the table, and neighbors serve one another, while the recipient indicates when they've had enough. It's important to take just enough to sustain you. Too little and you might go hungry, and too much you might be overfull. Just enough. There's also no waste in oryoki. When the meal's completed, a bowl of hot water is sent down the table just like the food, and it's received in a similar way, served and received by the neighbors. And you gesture when you've had enough water simply to clean and to drink and then to put it away. There's no waste. So this practice of mindful eating requires attention, noticing the abundance, noticing the scarcity, noticing the kindness exchanged in serving and receiving. You might even say that you do a kindness to yourself in knowing when you've had enough. It's a spiritual practice that points us toward a life of balance, or does it point us to a life of abundance? The Zen Buddhists who participate in the oryoki meal also recite chants throughout the meal at different times. And during the cleansing process, they chant, "The water with which I wash these bowls tastes like ambrosia," meaning it has the quality to quench the thirst of even the gods. They're saying the dishwater is delicious and abundant. It points us toward gratitude and abundance. So if we need to be pointed constantly, what is actually holding us back from the recognition of abundance? What's holding that hostage? I realized after learning about oryoki that I need a spiritual practice similar to this to help me recognize and appreciate the abundance that's in my life. Mindful eating is a start. Giving away Bed Bath & Beyond coupons is on the list. And remember the story of stone soup? The abundance is there among all the villagers once they begin to share their meager resources. There is enough for all of us. You just have to coax it out from under whatever is holding it hostage. So what is it? What's our problem? Why do we hoard? Why do we accumulate? Why don't we ever have enough? Why aren't we ever enough? And what exactly are we afraid of? Theologian Henry Nouwen wrote, "The agenda of our world, the issues and items that fill newspapers and newscasts, and the agenda of fear and power. What am I going to do if I do not find a spouse, a house, a job, a friend, a benefactor? What am I going to do if they fire me, if I get sick, if an accident happens, if I lose my friends, if my marriage doesn't work out, if a war breaks out. But here, he says, is the spiritual truth about these fearful questions. They never lead to love-filled answers. Underneath every fearful question are more fearful questions hidden. So our anxiety about the concept of enough is being held hostage by fear. Atelophobia is the fear of imperfection, the fear of not being good enough. The root atelis comes from the Greek for imperfect or incomplete, that sensation of not enough. So fear surrounding enough blocks the abundance from coming forth. Nouwen also writes, when fear pervades our lives, we are living in the house of fear. And from there, we look out onto the world. What we see from that perch is fear, is alienation, and scarcity. So our perception of abundance is damned by fear. It's damned like water. It's held back, it's walled off, it's inaccessible and often untapped. We can't see clearly enough through the lens of our fear without practice. But what do we practice? Just not being afraid? It's better to replace that fear energy with something else. Remember, we're moving from the house of fear to a house of kindness, love, and compassion. And that is really what unlocks the potential of abundance. How many recognize these lines of poetry? Though I may speak with bravest fire, and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the profit soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed. This poetry is adapted from Christian scripture. 1 Corinthians 13, when Paul is writing to the new developing churches in Corinth about getting along with one another. They're wrestling with issues that plague churches in all denominations across time. What if we lose our abundance when we share and we don't have enough? And he says, let inward love guide every deed. This same passage in 1 Corinthians is often labeled the gift of love. You might even hear it at weddings because he goes into talking about the attributes of perfect love. Love is patient, love is kind. Later he writes, love rejoices in the truth. But it's not actually about romantic love, it's about community love. So when we say love rejoices, when he says love rejoices in the truth, and we read passages like that, we start to say, what is the truth? What are you actually talking about? What's the truth about my fear? Could it be false expectations appearing real? F-E-A-R. How will we know if we're blocked in? How will we know the abundance? How will we know if we've had enough? Across faith traditions, I challenge you to find a sacred text that does not echo this message in response to the question, how will we know what is enough? Love will guide us. I want to offer you a gift today. It's not a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon. But it's the gift of enough. this abstract gift. And love will lead you to the gift of enough. Love guides us to noticing the abundance, noticing the scarcity. And I'm going to bring in Henry Nouwen one more time because I really like what he says about what love and compassion do to us as human beings and people of faith. Compassion asks us to go where it hurts, to enter the places of pain, to share in brokenness, fear, confusion, and anguish. Compassion challenges us to cry out with those in misery, to mourn with those who are lonely, to weep with those in tears. Compassion requires us to be weak with weak, vulnerable with the vulnerable, and powerless with the powerless. Compassion means full immersion in the condition of being human. And here we are, fully immersed in the human experience with one another, wrestling with our own perceptions of enough, tempering fears with love to shape our ability to recognize abundance. Let love guide you, friends. Guide you to noticing abundance, noticing scarcity, and moving very gently from a house of fear to a house of love. Blessed be. Amen. May it be so.